Hey guys, so I'm doing another reading update today. I have 5 books to update you on because I've been slacking, been working on my cake and reading and working, and that's about it. But I'm going to update everyone today. So I have read 5 books since I did my last one. I'm going through them really fast because I've liked majority of them. There's only one that I didn't like, so I figure that's pretty good. So the first one I read was Unconscious Hearts by Harper Sloan. She has another book to this series coming out that I'm planning on getting, but it doesn't have a title or anything. I can't find it on Goodreads, so I don't know when it's coming out yet, so it must be relatively new, because I do believe this one just came out in June. Yeah, in June of this year, so the next one will probably come out next year. But anyway, this book is about this girl, I don't remember her name, Ari. She, both of her parents died, and so now she took over their business. They live in Vegas, and she has a business that basically sells authentic, like, purses and stuff, like Gucci and all that. And so she's the owner there, and all she really does is work and go home, and that's about it. She has a cat. And then the guy, what's his name? Daniel, I think. I don't know. I don't remember his name. But he owns a strip club, and he hasn't danced in like 20 years, but he owns this strip club, and his grandma died, and she used to collect like everything fancy, purses and all that stuff. So she died. They never had a good relationship, but she left him everything. So he wants to get rid of everything. So he goes to Ari and ends up liking her a lot. So he makes this bet with her that he can end up sleeping with her, like getting her to say yes in 30 seconds, or he'll just give her everything instead of making a profit off of it. Because he doesn't really care about the money, he just wanted her, and he wants this stuff gone because he didn't like his grandma. But they end up liking each other a lot, and there's some stuff that happens there, like in every book, otherwise there would be no point to reading the book. There's some stuff that happens there between them, but in the end, they end up rekindling, and there was a very big plot twist in this book. There was actually 2, but the one didn't surprise me, but the last one surprised me so much. It came out of like completely nowhere in my head, but not really. Like, it was very well written in. I just wasn't expecting that. And very rarely do books ever get you where you're actually surprised. So I really enjoyed that. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. So I think that's pretty good. So yeah. And then the next book I read was called Look the Part by Jewel E. Ann. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars as well. So this one is about this guy. What is his name? Flint. Flint is his name. And he has a kid. His wife, also the baby's mama, died because he used to be an alcoholic, but not really an alcoholic. He just liked drinking. But it was his birthday one year, And they were out celebrating his birthday with his family, and he'd been drinking, and he wouldn't let his wife drive home. So they got in an accident. It killed her, but his son survived. So it was left with him and his son. And he tortured himself for 10 years. He didn't think that he deserved anything or anyone. He would have one-night stands. And that was it, because he didn't think that he deserved to have a life and be happy. And then Ellen is a musical therapist, and she is looking for a place to rent for her business. And Flint is a lawyer, but he owns the building that they're in. And so he rents it out to her, not fully understanding what she does for a living. So she moves in, and he can't work because the music is distracting him. So he's like, oh, I'm kicking you out. Like, yeah, you have 2 weeks to leave. But she ends up taking in his son for lessons for free, teaching him how to play guitar and stuff. And his son is autistic. I'm not really sure why they make that such a good point in the book, but he's autistic. And so his son ends up really liking Ellen. And Ellen and Flint just, like, get on each other's nerves. Ellen's trying to be super nice, and Flint is like, no, you have to get out. But they do end up liking each other a lot, and sorry, my throat is very angry this morning, apparently. Maybe I'm getting sick. But anyway, so she is from, I think it's Texas. I'm pretty sure it's Texas. And her dad ends up having a stroke in the middle of when they're trying to start a relationship with each other, because they eventually sleep together and decide that they're not going to fight this thing between them anymore. She also has rats, by the way. She has 5 rats. And he just thinks they're disgusting. But of course his son is like, ooh, rats, I want to play with them. And so she goes back to Texas to be with her dad, and ends up thinking that she's going to have to move there. And so they do a clean break. She's like, you finally got me out of your building. But then they end up together in the end. So it's really good. Like, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I finished it in a day. So, yeah. I was very happy with these 2 books. I was happy with every single book I got in my box last month. Or I guess 2 months ago. My first book box is the one I'm talking about. The second one I've finished 3 out of them now. So I have 1 more left. I did not like the first one that I read, but I have enjoyed the second 2. And I'm going to be starting the 4th one probably later tonight. So the third one, or the first one in this box that I read, is called The Other Side of Someday by T.K. Leigh. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I debated on giving it less or, not finishing it. It had, it could have been a really good story, but I just felt like there was nothing there. The chemistry between the 2 people that were supposed to fall in love, there wasn't any. They were friends. That's how I saw them. There was no chemistry, at all. So, basically, this girl named Bailey moves to New York from California, and she doesn't have to work because her dad died and she got all of his business rights, so she just has to sit on them, do what she wants. She wants to be a writer. Her mom also died giving birth to her. She has her mother's journal that she later finds out has a bucket list in it, and she ends up completing the entire bucket list that her mother wasn't able to with the guy she meets named Sebastian, who has a girlfriend and is a producer, so he travels a lot, but his girlfriend lives in somewhere, I don't remember. It's across the country in any case, so they never really get to see each other. So the first day that they meet, they both have dogs. She decides that she's going to go take her dog for a walk. Oh, one important thing. She left where she was because she found out her boyfriend was cheating on her with her best friend, so she stole the dog and moved. Anyway, so they're both taking the dogs for a walk. Her dog picks up a scent and runs off, ends up running into Sebastian, and her dog starts humping his dog, his girl. And then she's like, oh, I'm sorry. She's trying to like get their dogs off each other. And then she gives him a bloody nose by accidentally like punching him in the face or something. I don't know. And then they start this thing where every day they're going to meet up at this bench and they're going to be friends. And later they find out that they are actually neighbors. And yeah. It wasn't a very good story. Like, it had the potential to be a good story, but there was nothing there. There was no chemistry between Sebastian and Bailey. There was nothing. And like, they had a friend relationship. Like, you could tell, like, the author kept putting in, oh, there was this feeling that they wanted to kiss and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't feel it. There wasn't anything there. So I am giving this book away. Preferably, I would like to swap it for another book, but I don't know. Yeah, I might keep it just because it's signed, but I'll never read it again. It was not very good. So then the second book that I had read in this box was called Fighting for Everything by Kaye. It's very small compared to my other books. I finished this in like a couple hours, but I really liked it. Like, I couldn't put it down. I found it was very interesting. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So it is about this girl, Christina, and Noah, who have been best friends since they were younger. But they've always been like friends. They never went for anything else. He joined the military and he comes back because he got hurt and he can't be there anymore. And of course he's traumatized. It also, it like messed up his hearing on his left side and a little bit of his face, I think it was. But they were able to fix it. But he's in a slump. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He's traumatized, like. And then his friend Christina ends up going to a family party that they're having because their families are really close together. And something overtakes him and he decides that he's going to go for her because it's just suddenly a rekindling romance. Because he always had a crush on her, but he never did anything about it because they were friends. But now he feels like he doesn't really have anything to lose, so he just goes for it, and it ends up working. So they end up kissing in his bedroom and almost sleeping together, and then fireworks happen, and he gets transported back into one of the fights, and it's bad. He doesn't know how to deal with what's going on in his head. He's tried to talk to therapists, and it doesn't work for him. So Christina finds this brochure, because she's a teacher. She finds this brochure for where she's going to be teaching, that deals with a bunch of different outlets and help for military survivors. So he ends up picking this mask class, and he goes to one, and he ends up being friends with this one guy. And he introduces him to Fight Club, which is like Taekwondo and all that stuff. Basically, they just go there. They're all ex-military people. They all go there, and they all spar with each other and all that. Gets out some frustration, but they're all really great friends. And he ends up making moves with Kristen, and they end up together in the end. There's more to their story, but I don't want to ruin it for everyone. I really enjoyed this book, so if you want to read it, definitely check it out. And there is, I think there's 3 more. I have the second one, and yeah, I do plan on reading them. I'm going to read those after I read the last book I have in this box. I think I might read them first. I might read those, and then I'll read the book that I'm going to tell you about now, and then I'll read the last book from that box, because I feel like I can finish them all. So the last book that I read is called Tattered by Devney Perry. So if you guys watched my romance reveal book box, the last one, I had said that I wasn't interested in this book. It didn't look good. It didn't sound good. Anything like that. I was completely wrong. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I couldn't put it down. I didn't want to finish. I didn't want to not read it last night. I wanted to keep reading. I didn't want to sleep. I just wanted to read it. So I just finished this book. It is about Thea and Logan. So she was living in New York. They both live in New York. Well, she doesn't anymore. But they were both living in New York. And he went to a hotel bar, and she was bartending. There was no one else there because they were having some function in another room. And so he got her all to himself. Her shift ended, and like they'd been flirting the whole time. His shift ended, and they went up to his room to sleep together. They slept together a couple of times. One time they didn't use a condom, and of course it led to a kid. But that was the only time they saw each other for the next 6 years. She tried to find him, but she didn't know, they didn't know each other's last names. He wanted to keep it just their first names because he is really rich and his name was well known. His family has his own business or whatever, and they're really known. So he didn't want to use his last name. And he was also taken with her, and he wanted to find her, but she had left the next day, or when he went back a couple months after he went back. She had already left back to somewhere else. She ended up moving to Montana with their baby. And so he was on a trip to see if they wanted to fund this camp in Montana. He decided that they did, and then so they all went out to this bar, and Thea was the server there. She's also the owner of it, like a part owner of it. And so they saw each other. Instantly they knew who each other were, and they're like, oh my god, I haven't seen you in forever. Thea's like, oh my god, I have to tell him about our 6-year-old daughter. He didn't know anything. And so she's like, she pours him a shot of tequila, and she's like, you need to drink this. And he's like, well, why? And then his daughter comes in. He instantly recognizes himself in her, and he's like, is she mine? And she's like, yes. So then he stays back for a week to get to know his daughter Charlie and Thea again, because they always, from the first time they saw each other and slept together, they had this kindling romance. They just didn't know where to go with it. So now they're back to knowing where each other are, and they have a daughter. So they're going to try and figure it out. He wants to be with her, she wants to be with him, but neither of them want to move. His life's in New York, her life's in Montana, and so the whole book is about them trying to figure out how they're going to work this out, and eventually it ends with them, it ends with them figuring out that it won't work after she goes to New York for a week with Charlie. They figure out that New York won't work, and he can't move because he's so important in his job. So she moves back to Montana with Charlie. He stays in New York. When they leave, Logan decides that he needs them in his life, so he makes some things. He changes some of his life, and in the end, they end up together. Of course, it's a romance book. But in between all this as well, I just lost the name of her. Thea is being cyber stalked by somebody. That's the reason that I gave it 4 out of 5 stars instead of 5. I thought that there was enough going on that she could have not, like the author could have not put in the fact that there was a stalker. I didn't like that part at all. I loved the rest of the book, but I hated that there was a stalker. It didn't turn out to be who I thought it was. So that was good. But yeah, I think that she could have done without having a stalker there. But anyway, so yeah, I can't lift them up because they're really heavy. But these are the 5 books that I just talked about. And yeah, so I will be doing another update next week when I read some more books. But definitely check out every book I just talked about except The Other Side of Someday. Unless you really want it, then ask me about it. I'll give it to you. So, yeah. Bye, guys.